Hey, what's up, folks? It's Will back once again for another fight card prediction. Here for UFC 263, Adesanya versus Vettori II from the great state of Arizona. As UFC 263 rolls around and Izzy tries to defend his middleweight championship once again. I just want to say I missed the card last week, and I kind of been a little bit MIA. I'm taking a break off social media a little bit, just kind of reining myself back. YouTube, I might be taking a break soon because I'm just really trying to focus on family. With a baby coming, I'm trying to spend as much time as I can with my daughter, trying to buy a new house. So trying to get my kind of life in order, and really maybe just having a break from YouTube might kind of refresh my kind of the love for it, because like I said, it's a grind week in and week out, and when you've got a family and you're working all the time, it can take a lot out of you. So I apologize for missing the card last week. My DMs are always open on Twitter. Like I said, I'm kind of taking a step back off social media, but I do kind of look every now and again. So I will get back to you if you want to ask me any questions or some of my views on some fights, whatever. So I apologize for missing last week because I don't like missing cards. But I feel like I just need to kind of really focus on my family right now and get ready for this new baby coming in a few short months. So, yeah, just kind of taking a step back a little bit. Looking forward to this card. A couple of really good rematches on tap at the top of the card there. But like I say, I'm going to quickly kind of go through some of these cards here and see, or these fights I should say, and see if I can find some spots I like. I think it's quite a tough card and kind of looking at it. I like obviously the championship fights. I like the main card. Actually, I think it's a pretty solid main card. But outside of that, there are some fights like I said, I'm trying to spend time with family, so I'm not going to be sitting here watching fights with some people that I really shouldn't with. So yeah, I'll tell you about the ones that I've kind of not really watched all too much on, but I'm kind of looking forward to this card from there. There's a few bets actually that I quite like. I'm on a bit of a really bad streak with betting at the minute, and I don't know if it's because it happened the first time I had a baby. I really took my eye off the ball and my betting went, and it's kind of doing the same a little bit. So maybe I have to really maybe stop betting until after this baby comes in October, and then maybe try and pick up again, because I've lost all the profit that I made earlier on this year. So that sucks, but we'll see if we can kind of go here. So we're going to start off with a couple of heavyweights. Carlos Felipe against Jake Collier. And this morning I woke up, took the dog for a walk, came back, and this is the fight that I wanted to kind of watch a little bit more on. And I looked at the odds, and I'm thinking, I think this has got the potential to be a very, very, very close fight. I think that Felipe is definitely a better striker with the hands. I think Collier's a better striker with his leg attacks. I think he can kick better than what Felipe can. But Felipe, to me, he kind of plays around a little bit too much. I did not like that last fight against Justin Tafa where, like I say, I think that if he was just a little bit more kind of serious and really just went at it a little bit more, I think he could have won that fight a little bit more decisively. When I look at Collier, I think obviously he came back in like he was a heavyweight. You're like, dude, what is going on here? With the size, and when he went from middleweight up to a heavyweight against Tom Aspinall, and that was just he looked like he did not really want to kind of be there. But when he kind of turned back around against Gian Vellante, I thought that was a great matchup for him to really kind of jump back into a little bit, and it really kind of showed what he's kind of all about in that fight. But Vellante to me is like a spent force in the UFC, and he kind of has done looking like that for the last, I want to say, few fights now. But he got the win regardless. I mean, he had a lot of output for a big man in that fight there. That's pretty much which won him, because it was a kind of all-striking affair. But like I say, he can mix up a little bit. Predominantly a striker, though, with some decent kicks. I see this being rather close. I was kind of thinking Jake Collier was going to be my pick. But I think, like I say, I kind of edge Carlos Felipe. I would like to see Jake Collier kind of put it back-to-back wins, because that's something that he doesn't really do. But I think the betting line's a little bit high on Felipe. I think that I would rather, if I was placing a bet, it maybe being Collier, but me and bets at the minute, it's just not really working. But I'm going to take Collier to lose this one here. Felipe to get himself another win in the UFC, really move himself on in that heavyweight division with a little streak there. Faris Ziem against Luigi Vendramini. I always forget about Vendramini, and then I realised he came in short notice against Zaleski dos Santos. Thought he gave a good account himself in that first round. Then he came back and he absolutely starched through Yasin Ayari, and the guy's a little bit of a. I quite like what I see when I watch his fights. I think he's a bit of an all-action fighter. I quite like his striking overall, and I think he's got a little bit of a ground game as well. As far as Zayam, I mean, I bet him last time out. I think it must have been Jamie Malarkey. I want to say he was there, and like I thought he did well in that fight for the fact that Malarkey is a kind of blood and guts, grimy fighter, in your face, looks to kind of make it dirty, kind of got a decent chin, can take a good shot. But he showed that he can stop some takedowns in that one there. He's a big kickboxer. I still think that he's got a little bit of work. I still think he's very, very green in that spot there. But he's 6'1" for that division. So he's a big dude, good reach, can kick well. We've seen that he can really work. I don't want to say. I think he needs work on his ground game because Malarkey got him down in that fight. I think 3 or 4 times, and really couldn't do anything with it. But the long frame of kind of Zayam really came into it, and he was landing the cleaner shots. But I've seen some people say that Malarkey probably deserved that decision, and I was like, if it went to Malarkey, I couldn't really have complained all too much because he was looking to kind of push the action, get the fight against the cage, get the fight to the ground. And then you've seen, obviously, in the Don Madge fight as well, he get taken down a couple of times there, and he's a kickboxer as well. So Vendramini might have a spot there where he could get takedowns if he wanted. I see this being more of a kind of kickboxing fight, and I edge Vendramini. I think he's, I don't know what his reach is, so 75 against 73 with a 5'8" height. So he is definitely smaller than Zayam. But I've got him to win this fight here. I think that it can be another one of these close fights, striking fight back and forth that just who lands more, the more cleaner shots, and who looks better in the judges' eyes could take it. So I'm going to take Vendramini for the W there. Chase Hooper against Steven Peterson. I really like Steven Peterson here. I think this is a good fight for him, and I don't know whether it's just because it's Chase Hooper, who, I mean, it's hard to really. It's just really hard to be kind of confident in Chase Hooper in certain kind of fights. The guy's got very little striking, very good with his ground game, but his chin's in there, gets hit really, really easily. Peter Barrett was on his way to winning that fight and then managed to get heel hooked in the last couple of minutes of that fight. In my opinion, I thought he was, in fairness to Hooper, I think his striking looked better in that fight than it previously did against Caceres and so on, Daniel Tamer. But it's a work in progress. The kid is only 21, 22 years old, so he's still got a lot of growing to kind of really go into his like professional kind of career. But if he can get the fight to the ground, then he is very live for a submission because he can wrap you up in some stuff there. Steven Peterson, what I like about him is a dogged, determined fighter, comes forward, will look to kind of put it on you, and but he's also very, very hittable. He's a guy that I think you can out-volume a lot. Like Martin Bravo was landing it well in this guy, but then he managed to kind of really pull round and catch him with that spinning back fist. Caceres, he lost that fight, kind of getting outstruck there, got some takedowns in it. And then the Pena fight there, he got takedowns, but lost kind of on the volume side of things. So it's hard to be super kind of confident in Steven Peterson because I think they're both kind of low-level guys. I like his experience. He's been a lot of kind of, he's been more fights than what Chase Hooper has outside of the UFC, inside the UFC as well. It might be one of these things soon as well where Chase Hooper really starts to kind of put it all together. And if he can do that, and especially if his striking can catch up a little bit to his ground game, then I think he could be a little bit of a force in the UFC. Nothing too much, though. I don't see him reeling off 3-4 wins in the UFC because I think that they're going to gradually give him that level up and he's going to lose some of these fights. So I'm going to go Steven Peterson. I think just the experience, I think the volume, I think his striking, just his doggedness is going to win in this fight. So I've got Steven Ocho Peterson for that one there. Frank Camacho against Matt Frevola. I'm having a hard kind of time really deciphering what's kind of going on here, because I don't like Camacho when he comes down to 155, and then when he's at 170, you see him getting starched by Justin James, and Justin James is really just fanned out to not being really all too much in the UFC. So Camacho, I think he's got some of the spots here where he could win this fight. But if this engages in a brawl, I can see Matt Frevola, if he fights safe to a game plan where he uses his wrestling. Now, I think from what I was looking into, that Camacho's a black belt, but you don't really see all too much of that. Then I think Frevola, if he was to use his takedowns, could really kind of maybe make this fight a little bit clearer. But if these guys engage in a brawl, both guys have shown that they've got, I don't want to say weak chins, but they've got chins that if you land the right shot on them, you can put them on the backside. And we've seen that with both guys where they've been put down kind of numerous times by different strikes and so on. But I think that Frevola, I feel like I should be taking a dog shot on Camacho here. I feel like Frevola here, I think he's just got a few more tools in the kind of tool belt to really kind of win him this fight. And I'm a little bit, like I say, the gut's kind of telling me Camacho, but I don't like Camacho at 155. I just don't like it. Like I say, he might show up here. I actually was kind of impressed with Frevola against Saruki, and I thought that was a kind of hard thing to kind of, he was supposed to fight Azatar, and then everything was going on with him, then he got thrown in against a far better opponent, in my opinion, in Saruki, and then really, I just think he was a little bit outmatched, kind of really everything there, but gave it a shot, as he always does. I'm going to go Matt Frevola. I think that he can wind down Frank Camacho a little bit and kind of win a decision through that, so I'll go Matt Frevola there. Pannie Kianzad against Alexis Davis. I think Pannie's finally started to find her feet in the UFC. And this is something I thought many moons ago when she was in Cage Warrior. She went to Invicta, lost some fights there, went on to the Ultimate Fighter, did well up at 145, fought Chase on, lost that one. Then kind of the UFC never took her on, but then they brought her in, I think it was on short notice, lost to Julia Avila in not a great fight, but she gave a good account of herself, and then has reeled off 3 nice wins over Betch Correa, Sijara Eubanks, and Jessica Rose Clark there in Russia, I remember. So 3 pretty dominant decision wins there. I think that she's been making a nice step up with her kind of overall kind of skills. The way she's kind of been winning those fights is through her striking for the most part. She's been out striking, like Eubanks was looking to clinch up, get takedowns. She did get a couple there, but on the feet, just the volume of Pannie and her kind of output really won on the fight. It's the same with Betch Correa. Like I say, Betch Correa got a takedown, which is never a good look, but didn't really do all too much with it. Used that output and really won the fight through her striking and her output. And it was the same with Jessica Rose Clark, but she was the better striker, and you've seen that here. Alexis Davis, I've always thought that she's a hitting, but like a very hittable. I always thought that you could really tee off on her a little bit. She will respond with some shots, but she looked really good in her last time out against Sabino Mazo. But Sabino Mazo really struggles to stop takedowns. So if Pannie can, I think she can stop takedowns. Now Alexis could still get them. But I think if Pannie can keep this standing, I just think she lands the cleaner shots. And Davis is, what age is Davis now? She's older than me, geez. Oh, so she's like 36, 37 years old. So, and I kind of learned my lesson last week because I bet Trinaldo. But in saying that, I think Trinaldo will always fight for your money, especially at the age he's at, and he was plus 225. So I don't kind of regret taking a shot at that number. But I like Pannie Kianzad. I think she stops the takedowns. I think on the feet she just has more volume. She'll accumulate more damage on the face of Alexis Davis, and she'll kind of win the fight through that there. Moving on to televised prelims now. Good fight. Movsar Evloev against Hakeem Dawudo. Striker versus grappler. But in saying that, I think Evloev has got some really good striking as well, but predominantly he's going to want to use that grappling of his, because that is really, it's been his bread and butter kind of in the UFC. But with his striking's definitely came along, and I mean, he's fought decent guys. I think Sungwoo Choi's not a bad win because he's very big for the division, very long, uses takedowns there, won the fight comfortably. Barzola, he was against a fellow wrestler, got the takedowns there, had more volume. I think he had more volume, actually. I could be wrong. But it was a very, very close fight, squirrely back and forward fight, but his takedowns on him, that one. Mike Grundy, it was kind of interesting there because that's where his striking really came to the fore, but he got taken down on numerous occasions by Mike Grundy, but and really fought through a very, very, very tough situation where he was in a guillotine choke. He looked in tight. So the guy's got a lot of heart. You've seen that you have to put him out to really get him out of there. Won the fight there, unanimous decision, and then won a very, very, well, I've seen some people say it was a close split decision. I thought he was beating up Nick Lentz on the feet pretty comfortably, got some takedowns in that one there. Dawudo, like I say, made not the greatest UFC debut. I don't think we should really mention that. He got caught, it happens. But since then, he's really leveled up fight by fight, 5 wins in a row. His last couple of wins to me are really, really good wins over Sahara Tuhugov and I forgot, dude for Tiger Schulman's. Julio Arce, where his striking's really kind of came to the forefront there. Now he's did get taken down in those fights there, so that's obviously what Evloev's going to look to do here, because I think the more slicker striker is definitely Hakeem Dawudo. I kind of like what I've seen of him with striking. It's just so fluid, great footwork, great angles, can counter very well too. But I just think Evloev's grappling is just going to win him the fight. I mean, Hakeem's last 2 fights have been splits. This probably, I think, has all the kind of makings of being a split decision as well. So would I be surprised if Hakeem got his hand raised? No. But my pick's going to be Evloev. I just think he's the better talent. I think he's still grown himself into a fairly decent fighter. I just like him a little bit more here. So I am going to go Movsar Evloev via decision there. Lauren Murphy against Joanne Calderwood. Another one of these fights I've been going back and forward on. I love the output of JoJo. I think that she lands far more than what Lauren Murphy does. I think she takes more shots as well, which is never really a good thing. But I think all around as a fighter, I think that Murphy can maybe mix it up a little bit more. I think that JoJo will predominantly want to keep this one standing. But she can mix in takedowns. We have seen that in fights. She took down Jessica Ash, and she took down Andrea Lee, and she kind of survived some spots there. But on the feet, if this is a back and forth fight on the feet, I like JoJo a little bit more. But I can see Lauren Murphy. I mean, Lauren Murphy's in the best spot in her career. She's reeling off wins. She's beaten tough-ish opposition. I mean, when you're beating people like Andrea Lee, we've seen last time out that she's very dangerous on the ground. Got taken down. Lauren got a couple of takedowns there and kind of survived, not getting caught in anything. She really just kind of was a wet blanket in some of those spots when she got taken down. Modafferi, super strong veteran fighter who's not the easiest to kind of. It's hard to look good against her, but I thought Lauren Murphy did really well in that spot. And then she had the Shakarova fight where Shakarova, I don't think she deserved really. That's her division. I think she has to drop down to 115 and really commit herself to that division. But that wasn't a great fight. But she got a finish in the second round, which is always nice. Like I say, I've been the biggest fan of JoJo for the longest time. I mean, I walked out behind her, I think 5 years ago now, 5-6 years ago in Glasgow, which was one of my most awesome experiences of my life, was walking out with a UFC fighter in their hometown, the home country, in front of all the fans. It was a crazy experience. But she's got herself settled down in Vegas. She's got herself engaged to John Wood, who I think is a great coach. Really established, I think it's Syndicate MMA over there. So she's really got herself a solid gym, a lot of solid girls around her. But I'm like, I think I'll lean Lauren Murphy in this one here. But it's tough for me because my natural instinct is to pick JoJo. But like I say, if she keeps it standing, I think she can absolutely wear out Lauren Murphy with her striking, because I think she's got far more tools. I think Lauren Murphy is one of these girls that's really only got hands, where JoJo will use knees, she will use leg kicks. She doesn't care about getting bloodied up. She always gets bloodied up every fight, comes forward and lands a big old strike. So, really, really struggling with this pick here. Because I don't want my bias to take over, but I think Lauren Murphy's got a shot. Bugger it. It's my pick, so I'm going to pick Joanne Calderwood to win that a fairly close decision. But hopefully she can stop some takedowns, because I wouldn't like it if Lauren Murphy was to get some top time on her down there, because I think that she could struggle a little bit. But I'm going to go JoJo. Big fight here. If she loses this one, I don't think she ever gets herself a title shot. And she puts herself kind of not in the front of the queue for a title shot, but coming off a couple of wins might open Valentina's eyes to another fight in that division. So I'm going to pick JoJo, but a very close fight, kind of nonetheless there. Eryk Anders against Darren Stewart. I feel so sorry for the Eryk Anders bettors from the last fight, because I thought that he was well on his way to kind of winning that fight. He was beating up Darren Stewart. I think he was an underdog, plus money underdog. And Darren Stewart really, I don't want to say took the easy way out, but he got hurt, and then they called that fight there. I like Eryk Anders here. I think that if he comes in the way he looked the last time, and he moved his camp to fight ready, which he did again for this one, I just kind of like Eryk Anders in this spot. And the betting line's still decent. I think it's like -130, -138 here in the UK. If you saw what you saw in that first fight and you like what you saw, I think you can jump on Eryk Anders. Darren Stewart just didn't really look in that fight, in my opinion. And sometimes he looks very tough and really hard to fight against sometimes. And then he kind of looks a little bit, I don't want to say lethargic, but maybe just not all fully there. But again, he's fighting some really good guys, like Kevin Hollands, and Fabinski's a tough guy to face with his skill set. So I like Eryk Anders. I think he can get it done here. I think if he can kind of really maintain what he did in that first fight, I think that he could take out Darren Stewart. So I'm going to take Eryk Anders here. Even though Darren Stewart is not the easiest guy to take out as well. He's been hurt a few times and been in some bad spots, but always kind of comes through it as well. So I'll take Eryk Anders via stoppage, but like I say, I don't really want any part of that line. I would prefer getting the Anders money when he was an underdog in that spot there. Drew Dober against Brad Riddell. Really good fight, but I'm edging Brad Riddell in this one. I know a lot of people are on Drew Dober and Drew Dober heavy. I've got some mates of mine speak to a little bit here and there that bet on fights. I've seen some people max betting them and stuff like that, and I can see why you're doing that with the line and so on. But for me, I think Brad Riddell is a little bit more of a technical striker, but I still think it's a little bit of a jump up from what he was kind of previously facing from your Mustafaevs and your Alex Silva. And he can be hit a little bit as well. If this is to become a pure striking affair, then I think I just prefer the Brad Riddell side a little bit. I think he's got a lot of experience in the striking realm, as has Drew Dober. Drew made that kind of step up to face Islam Makhachev, and we've seen that Islam Makhachev is one of the guys in that lightweight division that I don't think a lot of people really want to face. So yeah, I don't really take anything kind of away from him there. Put on a nice streak before that with a couple of wins over Hernandez and Haqparast when he knocked him out there. So he's got sharp hands. And Brad Riddell, we have seen, specifically the Malarkey fight, that sometimes he can be a little bit reckless and he can be a little bit hittable. And that's a little bit concerning because Drew Dober's like a little fire hydrant, throws heavy on a lot of strikes. I think he's probably got a wrestling advantage if he decides to use it. Now, when was the last time we've seen Drew Dober get a takedown in any capacity? Probably a way back then. Let me actually bring this up. Was it maybe Dariush? No. John Tuck, 2018, so 3 years. But I do think he can maybe have that in his back pocket, mix it up a little bit there. If you're on the Dober side, I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit more of that. To me, I just like Riddell a little bit more. I think he's a little bit more technical. I don't think he's got as much power as what Dober has, but I think over a 15-minute spell of the fight, I think that he could I think he can win a decision. I think he can have more output. I think even if it gets into a little bit of a brawl, I think Riddell would maybe welcome that a little bit. But I think if he was to stay technical, I think he can win a decision here. But I think it's a very close fight. I'm going to edge the dog, but not super confident, if I'm being honest with you there. Main card time. Paul Craig against Jamahal Hill. Some bad blood between this one. These guys were scheduled to fight. Let me bring this up. Way back in March. And then I think Jamahal had to kind of withdraw due to COVID. It happens in this day and age. And Paul Craig said that he kind of fell out the fight and didn't want the fight. And that really pissed off Jamahal Hill. And then we've had Scottish fans being absolute assholes and going after Jamahal Hill and saying things. And then I think Jamahal Hill said some things about Scotland, like we're enemies now. And that kind of sucks because I think Jamahal Hill could garner a lot of fans with the way that he is, his persona. And that's, but he seemed to kind of take it against Scotland in this one here. I like him in this fight, Jamahal Hill. I think that on the feet he could work Paul Craig, but from what I'm hearing from the people that kind of know Paul Craig, and I know him a little bit, that he's making big improvements. I think we've seen that in the UFC. I actually think that from what I was hearing, Paul Craig was in really good shape for that first fight in March. Like he was in the best spot ever, and I think maybe that might have been his chance to maybe get at Jamahal Hill. Jamahal Hill still need to make that jump up in opposition in the UFC. I think that he's a guy that's got a lot of hype, a lot of people on him. I know I've got some good friends that really think he's going to go all the way, and he's coming off wins. I mean, Darko Stosic, he won at the weekend at KSW, not the worst performance in the world and the worst win they have. Klidson Abreu, he won that fight. That no contest, don't take any of that shit. That's a clear win there. And then when you beat a guy like OSP, that's, especially when you knock him out, that can open your eyes a little bit. On the feet here, he should style on Paul Craig. Paul Craig doesn't really want to keep this fight on the feet. He wants to get this to the ground. Now, if he gets this to the ground, then we could see Paul Craig, because he's so tricky down in there. We know that. We've seen that. He could be getting beat up a little bit. We've seen that way back before these UFC days. Carl Moore was really hurting him up on the feet a little bit, and then got him down. And then he just kind of, he seems what to do. He's seamless with his transitions into submissions, and he finds them. And he's dangerous at all spots in this fight. You have to be careful. He could be losing the fight, and then he will throw something up and catch you in it. And when he wins, I mean, he usually stops guys. That's what he's done his last few fights against Shogun. He's over the hill. And then Antigulov has only really got a round of gas in him, but he managed to catch a triangle choke on him. So if Jamahal Hill's really smart here, keeps him at distance, beats him up at long range, and I think he knocks him out. So I think he knocks Paul Craig out, actually probably in the first round. So I've got Jamahal Hill to really win here, but just don't get caught, because I had a feeling with this a wee while back, like maybe back in March, that I would have probably picked Paul Craig. But when I watched Jamahal Hill, and that's what I did yesterday, I was like, the guy's got a lot of talent, a lot of speed, a lot of accuracy, picks his shots very well in the feet. I just think that this is going to be I think he can get himself a bonus here, actually. I think that Jamahal Hill can do some big things in this fight here. So I've got Jamahal Hill for the win there, but all the best to Paul. Like I say, hopefully he brings the win back for the nation. That'd be nice, but I'm going against him here. Demian Maia against Belal Muhammed. Oh, I've been sat here looking at this fight and thinking everybody loves Belal Muhammed. I think that he's one of the best guys on Twitter. Actually, I think he's very, very funny. Seems to be the nicest guy you could ever meet as well. And then we've got Demian Maia, who everybody universally kind of loves Demian Maia, even though he's not particularly great. He's not particularly exciting, you could say the least, but he's got the kind of game there that can really wet blanket you and really win that fight. And this is really what the fight comes down to here, because he's only really going to look for one thing here, and that's look for the takedown, look to maybe get some dominance on the back into position. Now, if he gets that, he can put that triangle around your body and sit in your back for numerous minutes of a fight and be comfortable there. I still think that's what he's going to look for, is doing that. But the guy's 43 now. There's been talks for numerous years about him being like retiring. I think that's his only spot he wins this fight. It's just been a little bit of a wet blanket there. So I don't like that. I like Belal Muhammad. He's coming off that loss, not the loss, but the fight with kind of Leon Edwards, where he really was. I think Leon was winning the fight, I think, but then that was a blatantly dirty eye poke. Well, I don't think it was blatant, but I think it was a dirty eye poke, and that really kind of stopped him in his tracks there. I'm going to pick Belal Muhammad. I've not looked into this too much. I'm going to look into it a little bit more, but I've got Belal Muhammad. I think this might be the last time we see Demian Maia, but we'll just need to wait and see in this one there. Leon Edwards against Nate Diaz. Is this 5 rounds as well? Yeah, I'm not too sure about that. But I've got Leon Edwards pretty handily. I think that it's just an interesting fight. Like, by Nate Diaz, he could get probably a few names with more kind of traction to it, but decides to fight Leon Edwards. So just kind of interesting whether the UFC really want to put Leon with Nate Diaz to maybe make, if he gets a win over Nate, it's always something you can kind of use, that you beat Nate Diaz, But to me, I think Nate Diaz will get boxed up a little bit here. I think the better striker, in my opinion, is Leon. I think just the better fighter, in my opinion, is Leon Edwards. Really puts it together very, very well. And I can see this just being like a five. If it is 5 rounds, I don't even know. If there was talk of that beforehand, let me see. Yeah, it's scheduled for 5 rounds, which is just interesting. I mean, if Nate Diaz can get off there, get some shots off, maybe gets it to the ground, because we know that he's very dangerous down there. But I think Leon Edwards is just going to play the long game here, look to kind of pick him apart at distance, not really engage in a striking affair too much. Now, Nate Diaz, if he gets into a little bit of a striking affair, this could be very, very interesting if he starts to kind of land a few shots and maybe brings the fight out of Leon a little bit. It might make kind of more eyes open to kind of Leon Edwards, because a lot of people talk kind of crap on him, but he is, I think, one of the best guys in that welterweight division. I think I don't want to say it's easy money on Leon Edwards here, but I think it's a safer spot. That you can see a lot of different spots out there. So the pick's going to be Leon Edwards. I just think he's a little bit too better on the feet, or just too better as a fighter. I think that's what it is. I think he can just do more in a fight than what Nate is. I think Nate's very hittable, but I've got Leon Edwards there. First of the title fights here, they've got the rematch from December last year, an all-out war between Deiveson Figueiredo against Brandon Moreno. I think it's pretty simple that if he didn't get the point taken away, he wins that fight. Now, he kicked him in the nuts. It is what it is there. So you can get a point, especially if he's did it a few times. And Moreno, I thought he kind of moved up a level in that fight and really showed he's got that kind of championship mentality. But I still think that Deiveson is the top guy in that division there. I really do. I think that he is just an assassin. And the thing with that fight is both guys came in 3 weeks' notice, and they never really had a chance to get ready for one another. I think with more preparation this time, I think Deiveson Figueiredo, I think he whips him. I don't want to say whip him, because there's some fights that are just meant to be kind of 2 fights when you put them together. They're meant to be like close fights, and that one really seemed to me like it had everything to be a really, really, really close fight, and it turned out it was close. But to me, I think this time Deiveson Figueiredo, I think he's going to knock him out inside 2 rounds. I think that he's going to catch him with a big shot and really hurt him. And he's got a little bit of everything. He can submit you. He's got dangerous hands, big power. I think that he can go hard in those early couple of rounds, but still kind of maintain a decent pace throughout. But if I'm Moreno, I look to kind of maybe push him into those late rounds where you can get takedowns like Moreno did beforehand. I think that Davidson's in a better spot here. I think Moreno fought up a level or 2 last time out. I think the point helped him. But to me, this time around, I think Deiveson, he's going to plant those feet and he's going to land a shot sometimes. I was a little bit surprised that Moreno took some of the shots that he did off Figueiredo, because there was a couple of nice uppercuts that landed flush that we've seen previously that had put people down. And yeah, for me, I like Deiveson Figueiredo in this spot. I just think that he's had more preparation. I think he's going to be more hungrier than what Moreno is. I was watching them embedded earlier on, and Moreno's doing the Mexican side for the Venom kits. He's doing like Mexican TV and all that. So, yeah, I've got Deiveson Figueiredo. I've got him via knockout, and I'm looking at maybe betting Figueiredo inside the distance. That's a bet I am looking at, or maybe even parlaying him up. I quite like that number around about minus 250. So I can maybe find another leg there. I might be able to do something there. And then the other rematch, we've got Israel Adesanya against Marvin Vettori. Now, this is interesting because these guys fought 3 years ago, and I've seen some people, and this is why I've taken a break off social media a little bit and Twitter and so on. Some people really thought that Marvin Vettori won that fight, and I'm like, no, like, just no. It's like, first 2 rounds to me are very, very clear Israel Adesanya rounds, and then the third round he does get a couple of takedowns, does nothing with them. On the feet, Adesanya is really just kind of boxing up a little bit, but Vettori, he barrels forward and throws shots. Now, not all of them land, but if you're a referee, a judge, and you're watching that and you're seeing him just throwing strike after strike and really looking to he's more active. And that's something that maybe in the judge's eyes look good. That Chris Lee, the judge that gave it to Vettori, I think he is like a snake. You see some of the cards that he gives fighters. In recent memory, I think he's gave some fighters some really bad scorecards as well. But you've got to remember, I think it was Adesanya's second fight in the UFC. Really coming in there, got himself a hard fight, and then really after there, he just went level up big time. Now, is Izzy's confidence a little bit short? Because, I mean, he lost for the first time. I know it was up a division, but he showed some kind of holes in his game there, like a takedown against a bigger, strong dude. And I think that Vettori is a stronger dude than what Adesanya is. So if I'm Vettori here, you're obviously going to look to try and get takedowns. He did that in the first fight. Didn't have a lot of success with them. But on the feet, I thought he was getting hit up with some pretty clean strikes. Adesanya, I'm interested to see Adesanya this week, because I think that I want to see where he is, because he's never lost at middleweight. He's beat the cream of the crop at middleweight, and I mean he's facing guys second time over and beating them. So I'm interested to see if that last fight really took anything out of him. And Vettori, I mean, he's leveled up recently as well. The guy is a meathead. Like, he will come forward, look to throw some heavy strikes, and keep a pace on you for 5 rounds. And he's seen that recently, that he can do that. I mean, he took some shots in some of those recent fights. But I don't want anything to do with this betting wise. The pick's going to be Adesanya, but I don't know. Someone's sticking in my gut thinking that Vettori might make this a little bit closer, but then I've also got this thought in my head that I think Adesanya can absolutely maybe knock him out. Not that that's something that really happens to Vettori all that much, and if you watch that back and forth with him on Saturday, it's a little bit cringe at times, but these guys genuinely don't like each other and there's some bad blood there. I'm going to pick... I feel like I picked a lot of favourites in this card as well. That kind of sucks. Riddell was an underdog. I've picked a lot of favourites in this one. This kind of sucks, but I'm going to pick Israel Adesanya. I actually think that he could maybe hurt Vettori, but I think predominantly this will be a 5-round decision for Israel Adesanya. So, guys, that's my picks here. I see everybody in the chat there. I need to run and go and pick up my little girl from nursery. Hope to speak to you very, very soon. Enjoy the card when you come around this week. When it comes around this week, all the very, very best. Take care.